Just when it seemed like things were finally slowing down, everything exploded. Because overnight, what started as a slow-burning investigation into the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at Coy Kendall Stadium has now turned into one of the most high-pressure trials in Texas history. And at the center of it all? A single backpack. That's right. Prosecutors just dropped a bombshell. Newly uncovered evidence found in a backpack allegedly linked to 18-year-old Carmelo Anthony. And according to multiple sources, what they found inside could completely reshape this case, from a murky teenage tragedy to a prosecution with a clear target and a weapon in hand. Within hours, the court expedited the trial. The defense team went into panic mode. And the community? They're split, some crying out for justice, others fearing this may all be happening too fast. So now the question on everyone's mind is simple. Is this backpack the final proof Carmelo Anthony is guilty? Or is it the state's most desperate move yet? What happens next could decide whether a young man spends life behind bars, or walks free forever. Let's break it down. April was supposed to be a celebration. A crisp evening under the stadium lights at Coy Kendall Stadium, where families gathered, students cheered, and athletes chased their dreams. But by night's end, that stadium became a crime scene. 18-year-old Austin Metcalf, a promising student and beloved teammate, was stabbed during a high school track meet in full view of classmates and teachers. Panic spread like wildfire. Screams rang out. And before anyone could fully process what was happening, Austin was gone. In the aftermath, all eyes turned to one name, Carmelo Anthony. A fellow student. A quiet presence. And soon, the prime suspect. From the beginning, the case against Carmelo wasn't airtight. Witnesses gave conflicting accounts. The alleged murder weapon was never publicly confirmed. And while authorities hinted at circumstantial connections, they had yet to unveil a smoking gun. That was, until now. Because months after the crime, just when it seemed like the case might stall or drag on for years, investigators made a discovery that flipped everything upside down. A backpack. One no one expected to find. One they now believe could change the entire narrative. It started with a follow-up sweep. Routine, they said. Just tying up loose ends in Carmelo Anthony's movements around the time of the stabbing. But what they found wasn't routine at all. Hidden in a location authorities still haven't disclosed publicly, investigators recovered a backpack they now say is directly tied to Carmelo. A bag that, according to insiders, may contain the very evidence that had eluded them for months. Sources close to the investigation described the discovery as the missing link. Early reports leaked that inside the backpack were items allegedly smeared with trace amounts of blood, along with personal belongings that match what Carmelo was seen carrying the day Austin was killed. Even more chilling? Some believe the backpack might contain handwritten notes, potentially outlining plans or motivations. If true, this would be a devastating blow to any claim of self-defense. Law enforcement has been tight-lipped about the full inventory, but the moment that backpack entered evidence custody, the tone of the case changed. Prosecutors, who had been cautiously building their arguments piece by piece, suddenly filed an emergency motion. Their claim? The contents were too explosive to ignore, and too strong to delay the trial any longer. And within hours, the judge agreed. Just like that, a case expected to drag out for years was thrown into overdrive. When the prosecution filed their emergency motion, few believed the court would actually approve it. After all, murder trials, especially involving minors, are notoriously slow and methodical. But this time, things moved at lightning speed. Judge Linda Harper reviewed the motion, examined the alleged impact of the backpack evidence, and dropped a legal bombshell. The trial would be expedited. Not next year. Not months from now. Weeks. The announcement sent shockwaves through the legal community and ignited a firestorm in Collin County. Prosecutors praised the decision as bold but necessary. "The evidence is too compelling," one insider claimed. "It needs to be seen by a jury, now." But the defense? They were furious. Mike Howard, Karmelo's lead attorney, released a blistering statement accusing the state of bending to public pressure. "This is not about justice," he said. "This is about headlines. About rushing a teenager into a courtroom before the facts have even settled." Behind closed doors, sources say the defense team was blindsided, caught mid-preparation, and now forced to race against the clock. Forensic testing, expert consultations, and months of strategy planning had to be crammed into mere days. And while Howard vowed to fight back, he also admitted one thing: this changes everything. And they know it. The courtroom is no longer a place of slow deliberation. It's a battleground. And the war just got personal. Authorities still haven't released an official list of what was found in the backpack. But leaked reports and whispers from court insiders paint a chilling picture. The bag, allegedly belonging to Carmelo Anthony, was said to contain trace amounts of blood on the inner lining. A folded t-shirt consistent with what witnesses said Carmelo wore the night of the incident. Small personal effects, items that could place him at the scene. And possibly, handwritten notes. That last rumor is what's sending ripples through both legal teams. If prosecutors can tie those notes to intent or motive, it could undercut every argument the defense plans to make, especially the one claiming self-defense. Even more, forensic analysts are reportedly running DNA tests on the blood samples and cross-referencing the fibers in the backpack with evidence found near Austin Metcalf's body. It's the kind of detailed, circumstantial web prosecutors love to build. And they don't plan to keep it subtle. Insiders say the district attorney's office will push to have the backpack displayed prominently in court, front and center, as a visual anchor for jurors. Not just a piece of evidence, but a symbol of guilt. Their goal? To show that Karmelo didn't just happen to be near the scene. He was connected to it. He left behind a trail. As one former prosecutor put it bluntly, "It's one thing to say he was there. It's another to prove he carried the aftermath with him." But the defense isn't backing down. And they're ready to tear this backpack story apart. Mike Howard didn't wait long. Within hours of the expedited trial announcement, Carmelo Anthony's lead attorney stepped in front of cameras with a message as sharp as any legal motion. "This backpack doesn't prove guilt. It proves pressure." Howard accused the prosecution of manipulating the narrative, suggesting that the bag's sudden discovery, months after the incident, should raise more suspicion than confidence. "How does a critical piece of evidence just magically appear this late in the game?" he asked. "If it's that important, why now?" He went further, hinting that the evidence may have been mishandled, or worse, planted. His words landed like grenades. "We've seen this before in high-profile cases," he warned. A desperate rush to close the case. A scramble to satisfy public outrage. And a teenager's life hanging in the balance. Howard's team is expected to focus their fire on two key points. 1. Chain of custody: who had the backpack, when, and what happened to it before testing. 2. Forensic clarity: whether any blood or DNA evidence can be 100% confirmed as Austin Metcalf's, or Karmelo's. And above all, the defense will argue that even if the items in the bag are real, they don't prove motive. They don't prove intent. They don't tell the story of that night. Instead, Howard will paint them as fragments, disconnected, easily misinterpreted, and dangerously misleading. "This backpack doesn't carry truth," he said. "It carries assumptions." But outside the courtroom, the public isn't waiting for trial. They've already formed their opinions. While the courtroom prepares for battle, outside its walls, the heartbreak is constant. For Jeff and Elena Metcalf, Austin's parents, every headline, every leak, every legal twist is a knife reopened. The news of the backpack discovery didn't bring peace. It brought confirmation. Confirmation that the nightmare they've lived since that April night may finally be heading toward accountability. But at what cost? Jeff Metcalf stood before a crowd at a recent candlelight vigil, voice cracking as he addressed the community. "Every day we live without answers is a day of pain. But knowing the court is finally moving gives us hope. Austin deserves justice. He was our boy. Our heartbeat." The Metcalfs had braced for a long, grinding legal battle, possibly years in courtrooms and appeals. But now, with the trial unexpectedly pushed forward, they're forced to confront the trauma again, sooner than they ever imagined. Their grief isn't private anymore. It's public. It's being dissected, debated, and broadcast. Still, the community stands with them. Parents in the Frisco School District say their kids are still afraid to attend school events, haunted by the memory of that night. Students remember the chaos. Teachers remember the blood. And no one forgets the sirens echoing through a stadium that was supposed to be safe. Now, that ordinary backpack has become a symbol of fear, of loss, and of the desperate need for closure. Vigils are being planned. Prayer groups are forming. But the real moment the family is waiting for? That courtroom door opening. And a jury hearing what they've waited months to say. Austin didn't deserve this. And someone must answer. With the trial clock ticking faster than anyone expected, one battlefield is already exploding behind the scenes. Jury selection. In any murder trial, picking jurors is a high-stakes chess game. But in a case like this, where emotions are raw, media coverage is non-stop, and a community is deeply divided, it's a war. Prosecutors are pushing hard for a jury that empathizes with Austin Metcalf's family. People who understand the weight of a life lost. People who, even subconsciously, walk into that courtroom already aching for justice. The defense? They're fighting a different battle. Mike Howard and his team are demanding impartiality. Jurors with no bias, no emotional attachments, and no connection to the local media storm that swept through Collin County. "We want people who care about facts, not feelings," Howard reportedly told insiders. But here's the problem. There may not be anyone left in town who hasn't already made up their mind. Legal analysts say the defense's best shot might be to find just one juror, one voice in the room willing to question the backpack, the timeline, and the sudden shift in momentum. Because in high-profile cases like this, you don't need a unanimous jury to create doubt. You just need one person to hesitate. And in that hesitation, Carmelo Anthony's fate could swing completely. Still, with public pressure mounting and headlines flooding social media daily, that kind of neutral voice is getting harder and harder to find. Inside Collin County, one question looms. Can anyone truly walk into that courtroom without already feeling the weight of a verdict? Carmelo Anthony is only 18 years old. But what awaits him in the coming weeks isn't just a trial. It's a fight for his future. The discovery of that backpack didn't just speed up the legal process, it reset the stakes. What was once a case built on circumstantial evidence and conflicting witness accounts is now being shaped around one physical object, one bag. one possible key to the truth. For the prosecution, it's the anchor they needed. For the defense, it's the curveball they didn't see coming. And for Karmelo? It could be the difference between walking out of court or never walking free again. Insiders say the trial is set to open with forensic testimony. Experts will break down every speck of evidence found inside that bag, linking it, piece by piece, to the scene of Austin Metcalf's death. The prosecution will build a story of intent, of presence, of proximity to the weapon. They'll argue that this wasn't a tragic misunderstanding. It was premeditated. But Mike Howard isn't giving up. He plans to challenge every inch of the state's narrative, from the chain of custody to the possibility of evidence tampering. His team will push the self-defense angle hard, questioning the absence of footage, motive, and warning that this trial is being driven more by outrage than by truth. And through it all, the Metcalf family will be sitting in the front row. Watching. Waiting. Hoping. Because for them, this isn't just a legal case. It's the only chance they have left to rewrite the ending of a story that began with their son's final breath. The eyes of Texas, and the nation, will be on that courtroom. And as the final countdown begins, everyone is asking the same question. Will this trial deliver justice, or just more heartbreak? One backpack. That's all it took to flip this case on its head. What began as a slow-moving investigation into the tragic death of Austin Metcalf has now erupted into one of the most closely watched trials in Texas. The evidence inside that bag, still not fully revealed, has already shaken the courtroom, accelerated the timeline, and intensified the stakes for everyone involved. For the prosecution, it's their turning point. For the defense, it's a race against time. For the Metcalf family, it's one step closer to the truth. And for Carmelo Anthony, it's the battle that will define the rest of his life. As the community holds its breath, the question that now lingers isn't just about guilt or innocence. It's about justice. About trust. About whether a single piece of evidence can bring closure, or open even deeper wounds. Because no matter what the jury decides, one thing is certain. This trial will leave a mark. On a family. On a city. And on an 18-year-old whose fate now hangs on the contents of a single backpack. And when those courtroom doors finally open, the world will be watching.